You've been in housing finance now for 3 decades.
That's right.
What are the most common mistakes you see customers make when they apply for a home loan? And when in Delhi, you ended up doing a course in fashion designing.
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of things in my life. So my job was to only make cold calls. So I used to go shop by shop, house by house, telling people that home loan is available. So that's how I started. What kept me moving during all those difficult phases was faith and belief.
Influencers pushing this whole rent versus buy argument and the math obviously stacking up in favor of renting. Where do you stand on that?
The Aadhar Housing Finance happens to be a low-income housing finance company. 30 companies focus in the low-income space. We are on multiple parameters: AUM, asset under management, distribution, and disbursement. We happen to be the largest.
And you took the company to IPO. Must have been a really proud moment.
And I still remember the day when I was in the podium at NSE giving that speech, and post the speech dot at 10, the bell rings. You can't explain those things in words. It was a different experience. When the Almighty has given you so much, why can't you give it back to the society? That's what comes from Punjabi culture.
Hi guys. Our guest today is Rishi Anand, the MD and CEO of Aadhar Housing Finance. I call him the Dhoni of housing finance. Not only is he from Ranchi, but he has had an equally unconventional path to success. Today we spoke to him about Aadhar Housing Finance, the housing finance industry, how consumers should approach home loans. He spoke about his path to success. There's been so much to learn from him today. I have really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you have as much fun watching this as much as I have had doing this. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to Punjabis Update. Hi guys, I'm very honored and privileged to have Mr. Rishi Anand of Aadhar Housing Finance with us today. Rishi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Japjit, and thank you for having me on your wonderful show, PHD. Beautiful name you've kept.
Thank you. It's amazing having you around.
Thank you.
Okay, so you grew up in Ranchi, right?
Yes, I'm a small town boy, and the place is called Ranchi. Ranchi, those days when I used to be there, obviously was not known. But yes, of course, multiple reasons. One is it became the capital of Jharkhand when the split of Bihar happened.
True.
And then the famous Mr. Dhoni.
Correct.
Yeah, so I belong to Ranchi. Yes.
Nice. And from there you moved to Delhi.
Yeah, so my childhood was, I studied in Ranchi. My father was settled in Ranchi. Till about 12th, I was in Ranchi. And post that, so when I was in Ranchi, that time it was all Bihar. It became Jharkhand later. And obviously there were questions around the education system post 12th.
True.
So the choice was to move to a larger metro. And that's where my parents chose to send me to Delhi. I came for my further studies to Delhi. So that's how I moved out of Ranchi, and it's been a while now.
And how was it for that young boy from Ranchi moving to Delhi? How different was it for you?
Don't even ask me that. It was a sea change. Coming from, as I told you, that's the kind of exposure we had in a small town. And suddenly you come to one of the largest metros in the country, and being the political capital. And you suddenly felt like, what is this place? Right from how people would dress up, right from how people would talk, right from what kind of street food available. It was a complete change in the way thought process would start and end. So yeah, it was huge exposure when I reached there, and it took me about I would say 6 to 8 months to get used to the culture of Delhi.
I'm sure it takes time. And when in Delhi, you ended up doing a course in fashion designing.
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of things in my life. So while I was doing graduation in Delhi University, and that time I would say, this culture of fashion designing was in. And that's what happens when you come from a small town to a larger metro. You're trying to do a lot of things. So obviously fashion designing was like in. And everybody that you would talk to was doing something on fashion designing. So I consulted a couple of my friends and I said, why not me? And I ended up doing a crash course, 1.5 years crash course in apparel merchandising from IIFT. And I obviously went on to do something on the fashion side as well.
Nice. Yeah, I know you had a very unconventional path that way. You turned entrepreneur first and then got to a job.
Yeah, that's how I started, and it all happened because of this particular course that I did. And it sounded very exciting.
Okay.
And not knowing the other side of the coin, of course. and I started as a merchandiser. I set up a small factory with about 45 machines and started producing material for exporters. So that's how it started. And obviously, when you are too young, you don't know the tricks of the trade. I ended up making a lot of loss. And that's where I went into, so-called the mortgage industry. The first job that I took was after I lost a lot of money in my so-called entrepreneur adventure.
There's also another interesting anecdote there where you went and you said, I am the owner. Talk about that.
The business that we started was along with a partner. And the way it transpired was I chipped in a lot of money. But unfortunately, again, that's where the tricks of the trade come. I was not the signing authority in the banks. But, it all was in good faith. And it continued for about 1.5 quarter to 2 years. And once I got ill, I had typhoid and I was at home for about 7-8 days. And when I went to the so-called factory, it was a small factory, but nice factory. I loved it. When I went there, I saw somebody else sitting on the chair that I used to be sitting in. So I asked the gentleman that, that's my chair. He said, no, that's my chair. And we kind of, I would say, not argued, but we kind of looked at each other for a few seconds and said, no, I've been sitting here that's my factory. He said, no, that was your factory because it's now sold to me. And obviously that's where I had a shock of my life. And I tried to contact the partner. The partner was nowhere to be found. And I had borrowed money from the market to chip into the business. So that all ended in a little disaster on hindsight. But yeah, that's what life taught me.
Learning, I'm sure.
Huge. Lot of learnings from what I did. For example, when it comes to paperwork, and I've been following that since that day, comes to paperwork, be thorough.
Absolutely.
So that's the biggest learning in the entire thing. And when you chip in money, chip in at least if you're 2 people, chip in 50-50. So that there is equal on contribution into the activity you're doing. So a lot of learning, but yeah, life continued.
Absolutely. And you ended up in a job after that.
Yeah, after that, this was year 1996. When I lost a lot of money and I was on look for a job and I didn't know where to go. So through a common reference, I reached out to a company called Shelters. Shelters used to be the only franchise model of Citibank in India. And I joined Shelters as a trainee executive at a salary of 1,600 rupees and about 300 rupees of conveyance. So that's how I started. And my job, you'll have to believe me when I say my job was to only make cold calls. So I used to go shop by shop, house by house, telling people that, home loan is available. So that's how I started.
Achha. Yeah. And then from there you went to the larger banks, ICICI.
Yeah, so I spent about 4 years in Shelters. As I told you, I started as a trainee executive.
Correct.
And then, it was all about, and that was a very big, I would say, foundation that created in my life. I learned, the biggest learning was there is no substitute to hard work.
Absolutely.
If my bosses used to tell me that there are 15 cold calls that have been done, it is 15. That meant 15. And that's what I did. And I grew ranks. I started performing, I grew ranks. And when I left Shelters after 4 years, that was in September 1999, I was the manager of the entire unit, heading close to about 200 people and multiple functions.
Amazing.
September 1999, I got an opportunity with the largest private sector bank in the country called ICICI Bank, which was venturing out into personal financial services. And I joined them as something called a BMM, which is branch marketing manager. Again, I would say it was an entry level position at ICICI Bank. So that's how I moved on to a corporate.
Nice. And then over time, you spent over 3 decades in the housing finance industry.
Yeah, so I started my journey in 1996 in the mortgage finance.
Wow.
And today is 2000.
3 decades.
About 3 decades now.
Nice.
Yeah, I learned the hard way, but yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a very interesting journey.
Of course. Talk to me about 3-4 major learnings you had that shaped the early part of your career that got you the growth that you got.
Yeah, the biggest learning, Japjit, was in my first job, which was Shelters, was, as I already said, there is no substitute to hard work. And the extreme weathers in Delhi, whether it is winters or summers, if a call has to be made, it has to be made. Ultimately, end of the day, it was all about the consumer. So that was one big learning that I had, that there is no substitute to hard work. And I think that I have implemented that across the 5 or 6 jobs that I've done. Second largest, the biggest learning that I had was, public relations. It matters a lot. There is a set of people who don't agree to this concept, but I personally say, since I've gone through the entire journey, I think PR matters a lot.
Of course.
You've got to be good to people. You've got to maintain relationships. You've got to honor the relationships. And when in need, you've got to be standing with people.
Absolutely.
And it gets reciprocated when you are in need.
Absolutely.
So PR is, I would say, is both on the professional and personal front, is a big learning that I've adopted. And I keep telling my people that it is not about the only earning that I have done over the last 30 years has been people. So that's about it.
Talk to me about the early challenges that you faced. So since you were new to the industry, you'd faced enough setbacks in life, you were sitting on debt. So talk to me about challenges
I was... So when I joined my first job, I was sitting on debt. That point in time, I'm talking about 1995, 96, 1.5 lakh of debt was huge, when you compare to what it can be today. And suddenly you join a job and the debt is to be paid, right? And suddenly you join a job which is paying you 1,600 rupees a month. The only ray of hope was work hard, get incentives and pay back. The good part was, I had got this debt from the market through a personal reference. And they eventually agreed to be paid in installments.
I see.
So that's what I did for about, if I'm not wrong, about close to about 1.5, 2 years. Okay. Every month I would pay a little amount. And the other good thing that they did was they waived off the interest. So it was only principal payment. So big learning, you borrow money only when you think you can repay.
Of course.
And that's what I didn't think. I didn't know how to repay that money. If it were not for the good people on the other side, it would have been very difficult for me. So that was one big challenge, but I took it head on. That was one. Second, I would say the biggest challenge, and I keep telling my people, is education should always come first, and it is personal experience. When I started my own business or I got into the first job, I was a plain graduate. Not realizing that a postgraduate degree in whatever stream that I could have done would have made all the difference. And on hindsight today, it would have took me about 5 years, 7 years back in my career.
What has kept you up at night the most?
So again, it varied, pre-marriage and post-marriage. Let me tell you one more big challenge that I faced. So when I got married, this was 1999 March. I was still working in shelters. I think my salary would have reached about 4,500 rupees. I used to get good incentives to the tune of about 75,000 rupees a month.
Wow.
So I would say I was taking home about 75,000-80,000 rupees, very comfortable, and I got married in March. And in September, I came onto a crossroad where I had to take a decision of joining a corporate, which was ICICI Bank, at a salary of 14,000 rupees a month. So the situation was 75,000 rupees a month, married, staying on a rented accommodation, dropping the salary to 14,000 rupees. Big call.
Of course.
I think that's where my wife, kind of supported me a lot. And at least both of us understood the value of joining a corporate. Money was important, but not as important, because the aspiration was to make a career.
True.
So we took that plunge. 14,000 rupees coming in month on month, 6,000 rupees rental of the house. And I think, I would thank my wife to have run that house with 8,000 rupees coming month on month for good, 2.5 years when I started to grow ranks in ICICI Bank. And obviously with time passage, salary improved. But those 1.5 years of you being married, having a responsibility of another individual in your life was a big challenge. What kept me moving during all those difficult phases was faith and belief. I am a very God-fearing person. I always believed that, there is somebody who is looking upon you. There is somebody who will hold your hand. All you need to do is get up in the morning and thank him. Him, her, whatever you believe in. Just go and thank him. And that's what we did. My wife comes from a Sikh background. And obviously she believed in going to the Gurudwara every evening, morning. And she would do 3.5 hours of part daily. Wow. But she had this belief that, there is somebody who will hold our hands. And that's what happened. So we saw difficult times, but we faced it.
So
And then you have this circle of good friends, family, relatives, who keep pushing you a lot for good things, of course.
Absolutely.
And I was fortunate to have those kind of people around me.
Switching tracks, you've been in housing finance now for 3 decades.
That's right.
What are the most common mistakes you see customers make when they apply for a home loan today?
So a lot of mistakes people do. One is when you take a housing loan, you have to realize that you're taking a debt. So you need to have sufficient savings for yourself, not only to repay that debt in bad times, but also to ensure that you have sufficient own equity when you buy or construct a house. What we've seen and observed is people stretch themselves too much. For example, they would go and take personal loans, they would go and do loan against gold, they will try and borrow from friends and relatives to contribute to their own equity. And on top of it, they take a home loan. And eventually, stress comes in, and they are over-leveraged, stress comes in, delinquency happens, they lose their property. Eventually, they lose their property.
Correct.
So there should be sufficient savings to meet those times when you are short of income. And there should be sufficient income with you or savings with you to meet your own contribution. That's the time you should go for housing loans.
So what are the things one should be mindful of when applying for a home loan?
So Japjit, over the last 30 years, home loan is the only product that I've sold. I've seen transformation of what home loan used to be 30 years back and what it is today. I would say people had to be mindful of a lot of things if the story was like 15, 20 years back. I remember people taking 20, 30 days for getting a small home loan approval and sanction, and a lot of documents going into it.
True.
Life has changed. Technology, and today we talk about AI, processes, competition, a lot of things have changed. I would, if you ask me, it would be very difficult for me to find any word or anything which is why people have to be mindful of while taking a home loan. All you need is a desire to have a house of your own home, whether you want to buy a ready-built property or construct a property. And as I said, own contribution. If you have a little bit of savings and you want to move into your own house, this is the time. You call somebody today and there are 5-7 companies or banks standing at your doorstep to give you that facility. Everything happens today on the mobility solution. So times have changed. I don't think there is anything that people need to be fear of. You don't have to fear anything at all. So it's good times for people to get into buying their own homes.
Influencers pushing this whole rent versus buy argument and the math obviously stacking up in favor of renting. Where do you stand on that?
See, I'm still old school thought. And maybe it is to do with the Indian culture itself, where buying a property gives you a lot of security. And we've seen, I would have underwritten in the current company that I work for, which is Aadhar Housing Finance, I've written close to about 10 lakh consumers. And today we have about 4 lakh live customers. And we've seen instances where, there are instances of the main earning member not being anymore in, he expires. And the only security that the family has is the property. So that's the old school thought I'm talking about. Asset gives you that confidence of moving ahead in life. So creating that asset becomes important. And that's where you see a lot of youngsters. And if I can quote you another interesting data, and if I remember vaguely, the average age of an individual buying a house or taking a housing loan about 15 years back would have been late 50s. Today we talk about, late 30s kind of, Gen Z, as you would call them, wanting to take housing loans. So times have changed. Yes, there are a lot of arguments around rent versus ownership, but I still go with the old school thought of having a property of your own.
Coming to 2018 and you joined Aadhar Housing as the Chief Business Officer, how did that opportunity come by?
So again, I would say it was a big challenge of how it came by. I used to work for a company called DHFL, which was doing very well. We were one of the largest housing finance companies in the country. March of 2018, I had spent a lot of time with DHFL, and there was this question on what next and where the growth comes from. And I got an opportunity from one of the largest players and one of the big players in the market. And I was wanted to move out. That's when I was kind of internally offered. So this was a sister concern of DHFL. Aadhar was a sister concern of DHFL.
Oh, okay.
And I was offered the CBO position at Aadhar Housing Finance. And I remember 1st of April 2018 is when I moved into Aadhar. And the so-called financial crisis, which was led by DHFL, happened on September 2018.
Correct.
Again, on hindsight, while this, when I moved into Aadhar, the first 6 months were very tough because you come from a background where you are used to do large ticket loans. I was contributing about 2,500 crores of disbursement a month.
Wow.
And then suddenly you come to a company which is doing 10 lakh loans and about 200, 300 crores a month. And it was so difficult for me to settle till the time September did not happen. And that's where, the word faith and trust comes again. And that is somebody who is watching you, somebody who pulled you out of the mess, if I can use that word. And apologies for using that word. But, somebody who's pulled you out of that mess 6 months before it happened. That's where, again, as I said, I am a God-fearing person. And that's where it comes to the picture again. Yeah.
Okay, so talk about how Aadhar is positioned in the housing finance industry among the big players, small players.
So, Japjit, Aadhar Housing Finance happens to be a low-income housing finance company. Out of a total 100 approved housing finance companies, 30 companies focus in the low-income space. Okay. That's the space I operate.
Okay.
We are on multiple parameters, which is AUM, asset under management, distribution and disbursement. We happen to be the largest.
Wow.
We are almost a 30,000 crore company with a 10 lakh ticket size, with about 3.5 lakh live customers on board today.
Wow.
In terms of distribution, we are in 22 states with about 650 branches and expanding. So that is the network we work with. And we work with approximately close to about 9,500 employees.
Wow. That is some scale.
Yeah. So that's what Aadhar is.
Okay. So talk to me about how you have scaled this up from how you've seen it scale up from 2018 to 23, and then when you took over, how has the scale up been from then?
So the good part at Aadhar is that, year on year, Aadhar has been growing. Yes, it went through a tough time in 2018 September, as I mentioned. Post September 2018, 6 months were tough till the time the company was not sold to one of the largest private equities globally. And from June 2019, when the company was sold, I think the company has not seen, it's a company called Blackstone. Blackstone is the private equity who owns Aadhar today. And post Blackstone coming in, there has been no looking back, if I can use that word. We've grown leaps and bounds. We've expanded our distribution. And I remember, from a company which used to do 200 crores of disbursement a month, suddenly for 6 months we were like almost zero, no incremental disbursements because of that phase of September 2018 till June 2019. We restarted the engine in July, August 2019. And from there, it's all history. As I told you, we are the largest now in the segment we operate. Have there been challenges? Have there been good moments in Aadhar? Yes, there have been multiple good moments. And again, this the same old belief system which I spoke about when I started my career it is all about people. It is all about the relationship that people share with the organization. For example, since 2018 at least until today, not a single senior member of the team has left the company.
Wow.
We have vintage of people going up to as high as 15 years. This is senior management. So while, there are a lot of experts in the market who understand home loan, who can help come and sell home loans for you, who can come and create that distribution. But if you don't have good set of people, the growth does not come.
True.
So it's all about people. That's what I have believed always, and that's what I've been driving in the company that I work for. I represent my people represent me.
Of course.
I ensure that while they work hard, they are rewarded equally.
Wow. That's so amazing. And you took the company to IPO. Must have been a really proud moment.
Yeah, IPO was another big experience, It was a proud moment, of course, when we took the company. It's been 1.5 years now that the company's been listed. Post, obviously, Blackstone coming in, the ultimate aim was to get the company listed. It was a journey in itself. It took us, I would say, about four months preparing for the IPO. And I still remember the day when I was in the podium at NSE giving that speech, and and post the speech dot at 10, the bell rings.
Correct.
That was, you can't explain those things in words, It was a different experience. But yeah, now we are a listed company. We enjoy the prospects of being listed.
Correct. You're not just any other housing finance company. You're targeting this particular segment. You are actually creating real impact. How emotionally satisfying is it that beyond the job that you do, there's real impact you create in the world?
Very apt question, Japjit. And I have worked for companies who've served various kind of consumers. I've worked for companies who've served premium consumers. I've worked for companies who served consumers called lower middle income group. And then I worked with this company called Aadhar, which serves the lowest strata of the society. And when I say this, you have to believe me. We get, when people make their houses, they would typically send out invites for their housewarming, as we call it. And these are emotional moments because these are consumers who would make their property once in a lifetime. The emotion quotient is very, very high. And then suddenly, so I have over, not too many, but over the last 7-8 years that I've been with the company, I would have visited about 5-6 housewarming parties of, not parties, these are not parties, these are housewarming religious ceremonies. I would have visited, and what you saw there was very different, and that's what gives you that emotional connect. People coming out, trying and making you feel like you are a god. People coming and trying and touching your feet and saying that, you've helped us get shelter for our children.
Wow.
Those are the emotional moments that you go through when you serve these kind of consumers. So yes, the emotion quotient is high when you serve such consumers. And what better way of giving back to the society?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. How have you seen the age profile change for yourself in Aadhar of these customers availing loans?
So broadly, indicatively, as I also said, that the average age for the entire mortgage industry has been dropping, which is a very good sign of people wanting to own properties.
Absolutely.
At Aadhar, our about 10 years back, the average wage is about 55, 56. Today, it's dropped to about late 40s.
Wow.
Average consumer age at the entry point.
At the entry point.
That's right.
Absolutely. But talk to me about some of the customer experiences that left a deep impact on you.
As told you, once I was visiting a place called Salem. And coincidentally, the same day, one of our consumers who owns a kirana shop, the disbursement was done and he had constructed his house. And he had invited the branch manager for a whatever ceremony he was doing at the house. And my branch manager told me that this is the invite that has come from an existing customer. And when I travel, and I travel a lot, when I travel, it gives me a lot of pleasure to meet his employees, to hear out what challenges they are facing and what solutions can be provided. On the other side, even meeting consumers. That is the real picture.
True.
Hearing out of a marketing activity done might have got filtered.
It's very different.
Right? Yeah. So when you actually meet the consumer, that's where the real mirror lies. So I pounced on that opportunity and I said I would love to, but I am not a welcome guest there. If the invite has come to the branch head, but as employees insisted, we kind of went to the consumer's house. And I still remember his name, one Mr. Shetty.
Okay.
And small family, young guy, maybe late 40s, a wife and one small daughter. And so I kind of walked in and there were a lot of guests there, all their family members. And there was this Havan going on and a South Indian priest doing all the ceremonies. And so my BM was leading me inside the house. So obviously he recognized the BM and the BM went and told in his ears that, sir is also here, the way he would say. And this gentleman who was sitting in a puja tells something to his wife. Both of them get up and both of them come and touch my feet. And I was kind of taken back. A first instance in my life where somebody, out of respect, I don't know what word to use, but out of respect, coming and touching your feet. And I quickly moved back and I said, why this? He says, this because of this.
Wow.
This is the only words he used, this because of this. Because he could not speak too much of English. And I realized what he was trying to say. Is this house is because of you? जबकि ऐसा होता नहीं है. It is that house is because of his efforts.
True.
You are just an intermediary trying to help him achieve his dreams, desires, goals, whatever.
True.
And I realized that, what are we doing for the society? It is such a good thing that you're doing.
True.
Keeping financials apart, you're all in business, you're there to earn money, etc., etc., etc. But what you're doing is actually directed by somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you've grown Aadhar to be the largest in its category. Tell me one thing that you're doing differently from your peers, competitors.
I would say not one. There are a lot of things that we do differently. We believe in this concept of reaching out, and I sometimes face this when I meet a lot of investors, that why are you 650 branches? You have to relate to the consumer you deal with. Mine is not a consumer who will come on a mobile and apply for a home loan. Mine is not a consumer who would read a advertisement of Aadhar in a newspaper and call and take a home loan.
Correct.
Mine is a consumer who even today takes money from money lenders in the tier 4, tier 5 locations. Mine is a consumer, 7% of a consumer still work on keypad phones. They don't have smartphones. That's the consumer. So you've got to reach out to these consumers. That's what we do. That's what we do differently. That's why we are available pan-India in 22 states today, with about 650 branches.
Wow.
That's what makes us, I would say, large. That's what makes us very close to the consumer.
How do you see Aadhar shaping up in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
I would say we are, as I said, Japjit, we are the largest in the segment we operate. We will continue to be the largest in the segment we operate. It is in that culture of Aadhar where it is all about being number one. Out of the 22 markets, 18 markets, we are the number one player.
Wow.
I think it has become a part and parcel of. We don't discuss this number one position in the company because that is given. That whatever market you operate, that's how you've got to be. You've got to be ahead of everyone. And we also don't say there is competition in the market. Competition will do something else. You are doing something else. It might be a copy-paste product, but your reach is what your reach is. Your consumer PR is what your consumer PR is. Today, I get about 7 to 8% of my monthly business comes from referencing. Wow. Existing consumers referring you loans. So that's you talk about. The way I look at Aadhar Housing Finance, we should become double the size of what we are in about 3 years from now.
Wow. Going at 24, 25.
That's right.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. How do you see the industry growing?
So industry has been fair, growing at a CAGR of about 19-20%. I would rather say, in spite of using the word industry, I would say the regulator itself has done so much to ensure that the industry develops. We've got products like, which is the central government housing scheme product called PMAY, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which has done wonders in PMAY 1.0 and it's got relaunched as PMAY 2.0. You've got funds across various parameters from the central government to ensure stalled projects are completed. There is a Swami 2.0 fund of about 10,000 crores.
Correct.
There are 3 crores houses being constructed for the EWS LIG segment across various states. And then you have this very vibrant regulator, which is National Housing Bank, whose job is to only promote housing finance. And we all 100 housing finance companies licenses have been issued by National Housing Bank. There are so many schemes that National Housing Bank keeps coming out with. So I would say we are in good times. People should go ahead and make their houses and we are there to help.
Talk to me about the Punjabi values that shaped you.
So yes, I have been born and brought up in a Punjabi family. I think what Punjabi culture or Punjabi values have given you is living life larger than life. And that's what I learned from my father actually. When we were very young, I remember when he kind of moved out of the armed forces and he got into his own business. Obviously, the financials at the household were not as great as they should have been. But he was a man of heart, larger than life. He would still want to call his armed forces friends every weekend and kind of treat them with everything. So that's what we've seen throughout the childhood. That you ask something and before you even complete your sentence, the thing would be on a table. whether the parent is able to afford or not. You would see the typical on a light-hearted basis, the typical halla gulla in the family. So that's the culture we've grown from. You would see somebody approaching my father, and we are in a market, and he would not even blink his eye, and whatever has been asked for, he would do it. For example, कि मेरे पास पैसा नहीं है, मेरे को सब्जी खरीदनी है, and he would just buy it. Those are the things we've seen, and that can come only in this culture called Punjabi culture. And that's what led me to the word called Sewa.
And you've been doing that on a weekly basis. So
I will not say I've been doing it. I like to be involved in whatever little fashion that I can be. When the Almighty has given you so much, why can't you give it back to the society? I think that's what comes from this so-called Punjabi culture. That art of, or not art, that word called Sewa itself is so powerful. And I at least go to the Gurdwara every morning. I go to the temple also every morning. I spend about an hour there. And all right, I never ask anything, Japjit. I always thank him for the day that has gone by. And I keep praying that, whatever little I can be of help, I should be given that opportunity.
What does Sewa do for you? What does it mean for you?
It soothes me. It gives me that completeness, feeling of that I have given it back, and I'm not taking from the society. I'm trying to give it back. And I generally don't talk about it, but for example, I got somebody operated who was a very poor family, couldn't afford the operation. She had breast cancer. And my wife, she heard, and we were standing together outside the Gurdwara. This lady walks up and she starts crying. My wife asks her what happened. She said, I got detected with a breast cancer, and my husband is an auto driver. And my wife didn't even look at me, and she said, no, don't worry, get operated, I'll pay. And I just looked at my wife. This is what I was thinking while this lady was, crying, and I was looking at the lady, and my wife just spelled it out. So we got her operated. Now that is what was satisfaction. Is a person in need, and that's when you are there and somebody send you there. That's what makes the difference.
Absolutely.
And we do that. We keep doing that. So that the only thing why I have told my wife not to ask me ever. You want to do Sewa, just go ahead and say yes. Because if you ask me at certain time, I'm in an office and I'm in a certain mood, I will think twice. I said, why? That why should not come. And my clear instructions to my wife, and she just loves this about me, is that don't even ask me. Just go ahead and commit. अरे एक बार ये आपने कमिटमेंट कर दिया तो तेरे
कर दिया बिल्कुल. What's your perfect weekend like?
So perfect weekend is spending time with family, and I like doing a lot of household chores. For example, typically on a Saturday, Sunday is the time when I am at home. Saturdays I would make out a list of all the vegetables required. Me and my wife will go and buy some vegetables, and I like spending time there. It kind of releases that tension of the whole week or stress of the whole week that you've gone through. Then you come home, watch some whatever little TV that you can with your kids. I like a lot of joking around with my daughters.
Okay.
And we fight also.
Of course.
So that's a typical weekend for me. We are not very social people, the entire family. We would not want to spend our evenings in parties, etc. And sometimes I feel a little awkward that, for example, I am a non-alcoholic person, complete teetotaler. And you go to certain gatherings where it becomes a little awkward. Plus, I am used to sleeping at about 10 p.m.
Wow.
And I get up early. My wife gets up at around 4 o'clock and I get up around 5:30, 5:15, whatever. So this is the lifestyle I am enjoying. So we would typically not go out. Once a while, movie here and there is okay, but...
Music and movies, what do they do for you?
So music kind of, again, gives me I relax a lot when I listen to music. For example, when I go for my walks, and I generally try and go for my walks in the morning and evening both. So morning is all about kirtans and bhajans and loud music. I just love loud music. So I typically put my earpods on maximum.
Okay.
And when I go for my walks in the evening, it is all about, typically about Kishore Kumar. But I also love certain recent numbers. Some of them, not too many of them, but some of them. So, yeah.
Nice.
De-stress. It's completely de-stress.
So, how has all of this impacted your leadership style?
So, I think this question is well asked to my employees because they would want to look at me from both positive and improvement areas. What has happened is when you do, so it's a combination of a lot of things. I can't pick up any one thing and say, no, this has impacted my style. For example, when you tend to do a lot of Sewa, when you tend to be a God-fearing person, you start taking decisions accordingly in your professional life as well. What is going to be the impact of this? Am I taking away somebody's happiness by taking away this property? Now, these thoughts would come only when you are associated somewhere else.
Correct.
Otherwise, that's my job. I should just... Today, I tell my collection guys, if it's a genuine problem, give him 30 days. Now, that comes from a background of what I do in my personal life.
Correct.
Again, my personal life, as I told you, I'm a teetotaler. So, when you're a teetotaler, you tend to be away from a lot of these evening small get-togethers.
True.
Where it is nothing but nuisance, as I see it. So, you're away from those nuisance.
Correct.
You're away from the so-called corporate politics. And you tend to think more about people. You tend to give more to the organization in the time that you spend in the company. And on an everyday basis, a lot of things that you do on a weekend kind of translates into the week going forward and vice versa. If you've had a stressful week, you come home weekend, you don't feel like doing anything. You feel stressed. And those 2 days will de-stress you and then you go back fresh again. So it's all a combination of a lot of things. But yeah, I would not say I am the best possible leader. I try and be very good to people. I love my people. And I see that love being given back to me whenever I have asked for.
You are very humble.
I will not say that, but yeah.
So you made it to the corner office in relatively quick time. What were the major lessons you learned throughout this journey?
So yes, I will not say, I made it to the corner office and nobody else can make it to the corner office. It was all about, again, the process. It was all about, so process was a big learning.
Okay.
Why was your name recommended for the corner office when somebody else retired and there was choice between maybe 4 or 5 of them?
Correct.
It's because you were good to your people. It is because the promoters would have realized, and this is an assumption, they would have realized that, people are going to be happy if Rishi comes to the corner office. They would have realized that, and that Rishi has developed core competence in what he does. As I told you, 30 years, and that was, when I was telling you, it was more on a lighter side, that I have done nothing else in my life. Correct. What I was trying to do was trying to develop a core competence in what one single line of function or product that I would have done. Most of the time it did not happen by design. I moved jobs, but I got jobs in the same field, same mortgage loans. But after a certain point in my career, I decided this is where I have to be. This is where the industry that I belong to. This is the industry that I know. So why not develop yourself more in this? So that's what happened through the journey. And end of the day, I think it was all about the people support. And I think the ecosystem kind of realized that. And I got an opportunity to move to the corner office. I take pride in the fact that, we are like 9,500 employees, and if not 9,500 employees, maybe 2,000 employees I would know by name.
Wow.
My board multiple times would have asked me, what do you like to do most? I tell them travel. But the travel is not for because you want to visit certain locations. The travel is because you want to go and spend time with those people who work hard in and out 365 days.
Correct.
To get to know them, to sit behind their bike and go on, something.
Oh, so you do that?
I do that quite often. So last week, very close, I was in Varanasi. And I told my branch manager, he said, sir, aap ghat dikhne chalenge? I said, I would love to. So he said, shaam ko chalenge. Chalenge shaam ko. And this guy, for the entire day, was struggling to figure out कि मेरा CEO मैं इसको लेके कैसे चलूं? Because towards the ghat, you can't drive cars. I said, इतना क्या struggle है? So I sat behind his bike. There were 3 of us, 3 of them, 6 of us in 3 bikes.
Fantastic.
And it is fun.
Of course.
You know, you've done that entire life. I used to have a two-wheeler at one point in time, and we've done that.
Mm.
It is fun.
Of course. What is
And they
success?
feel elated, you know. They feel
Of course, they would love it. They would
आप
love
खाना
it.
खाएं उनके साथ बैठ के खाइए, क्या इशू है यार? आप कोई अलग ह्यूमन बीइंग नहीं बन के आए, आप वही हैं. तो आप उनके साथ बैठी, मैं तो बाहर बैठ के सड़क पे उनके साथ चाय भी पीता हूँ. Even today. What is the harm in doing all that?
Absolutely.
आप घर आके चाय पियेंगे तो वहाँ चाय पीने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है? आपने घर आके खाना खाना है तो वहाँ खाना खाने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
Yeah, I love your thought process. It's amazing. It's amazing. What does success mean to you?
See, there is no end to this. I can again talk for hours on this one small question of what success means to me. End of the day, if you are happy, and you know, I'll try and relate to a very recent experience. I met somebody, or rather, somebody met me. A very big organization, and I knew why they were meeting me. And one of the gentlemen out of the four sitting with me asked me, "What are your plans?" I have no plans. You don't want to grow further in life? I said, no, I don't want to go further in life. I'm very happy. So success is directly correlated to happiness. अगर मेरे को और स्ट्रेस लेना है तो मैं यहीं ले लूंगा ना, इसी कंपनी में. Why do I need to move out, go to an organization where I know nobody, start the relationship from scratch, take more stress and be happy? I know I will take 2-3 years to become happy. So success is happiness. Simple. Success is what, and it can be very different for different set of people. For me, success is spending those weekend 2 days happily with my family. For me, success is going to a religious place, whether it's a gurdwara or a temple, and closing your eyes and thinking about nothing else. For me, success is not money. That's a myth that I thought when I was studying in college. And eventually, maybe, I don't know, the upbringing, maybe, again, the Punjabi culture, और Punjabis का वो होता है ना, larger than life.
Correct.
पैसा नहीं है तब भी हम राजा हैं. Correct. So that myth of money being everything somehow during that journey kind of, so for me, success is not money. अभी ऊपर वाले ने बोला कि एसेट बना लो, तो हमने एसेट बना लिया फैमिली के लिए. जिससे मैं दूसरों को बोलता हूँ, वैसे मैं अपने लिए एसेट बना लिया. So that is my happiness. That is my success. So success is all this for me. You know, you reach home, you smile, that is success. You reach home, you are tensed and you going through heart disease, you know, success. And then we have stress times, you know. Abhi, as we are going through this month, there is so much happening in the company, right from budgeting for next year and stressed environment and appraisals, stressed environment. And I keep laughing to people. I say, itna stress lene ka kyun hai? Yeah? Why sluggish faces? Enjoy life. जो है, you have to pass through this.
Correct.
अब इतना डिलीवर करना है तो करना है, वो भी आपको ही करना है, you know. You go with the flow. Yeah.
How important is money? Money is important and yet not the be all and end all. So
yeah, money is important. Again, depending on your needs, but beyond your needs, my personal belief, money does not create everything. I've lost a lot of money. That first job, that first business.
Of course.
And then during this 30-year journey, there was another stint of being self-employed, and I lost huge money there. But I can't be sitting and crying about it, right? So, and yes, to your point, Japjit, money is important, but not everything. Money cannot give you guaranteed happiness.
Of course.
Right. हाँ, अच्छा लगता है कि and for me, money is more like that safety net. कि आपके पास इतना पैसा होना चाहिए कि आप एक साल अपना खर्चा निकाल सको बस. That is money for me. और फिर क्या है आगे, you know, आजकल, you know, it is not the generations where we've grown up, where the father typically would think कि मेरे को अपने बच्चों के लिए बहुत बचाना जरूरी है. You know, that is the Indian culture of making sure that certain assets are passed on to your children. But आजकल की generation is beyond our thoughts. They don't even talk about it. They don't want to even think about it. You will do it on your own. Papa, why take so much of stress?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I think, you know, when your daughters come to you and say, Papa, अब इतना stress मत लिया करो, कुछ हो जाएगा. अभी that is what you want. You don't need, you know, money in your bank account and a heart attack. No, not at all.
Absolutely.
So it is important, but not everything. Very simple.
What advice would you give to youngsters starting out today?
I've seen youngsters, including my daughters and their friends circle, in a hurry.
Okay.
पढ़ाई complete हुई नहीं है, job पे लगना है. Just because some friend is working somewhere. And I keep telling my elder one at least, younger one is too young. The elder one, go slow. There is no hurry. Education is a must. And that's where and this all comes with your own experiences. If I would have done my MBA at the right time, things would have been very different than what it is today. But no regrets, of course. So I tell my daughter that go slow, take one step at a time. पापा मैं ये बिजनेस शुरू कर लूँ, पापा मैं वो बिजनेस शुरू कर लूँ, ऑनलाइन ये हो रहा है पापा, ऑनलाइन वो हो रहा है पापा. The youngsters are in a hurry. They should not be. Okay. Take your own sweet time. Things will come as they have to come. Whatever is written has to come. Then I tell them that don't shy away from working hard. Go slow. Understand where you're going and keep working hard.
What a fantastic note to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ajit. It was lovely interacting with you. God bless you with your PhD.
Thank you so much.